And you just said I think the biggest thing you said, clients get afraid. So this, I think, is the biggest thing you can do in design. If you really want to elevate your space, be afraid, have a touch of fear that it's too bold or too much, and go for it.
Welcome to Decorate Like a Design Boss, a podcast for design lovers who want to create beautiful spaces in their very own homes. My name is Kimberly Grigg, and I'm a professional interior designer who teaches design lovers like yourselves how to decorate. And when I say decorate, I mean decorate like a design boss. If you're ready to create a space that your family loves and your neighbors can't stop raving about, well, buckle up, honey, because it's time to design. So hello there, design lovers and enthusiasts. Thank you as always for being here. And I'm so excited to be bringing you this episode. In fact, I've been talking to my guest ahead of time, and I just learned something that I didn't know about marble. And I'm going to be sharing that with you, as is Heather, and I can't wait. So today's guest is Heather Bernstein of HKB Designs. They're out of San Francisco. And we're going to talk a lot about sustainable design, interior design, and specifically about how to incorporate natural stone into your home and designs, and more importantly, how to take care of it. So welcome, Heather Bernstein. Glad to have you here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. So I know you've been home battling COVID. I'm sorry to hear that. Yuck. And I hope it wasn't horrible, but we forgive you in advance if your throat gets scratchy or whatever, because that is no joke. I haven't had COVID yet, but seems like everyone I know has, including my children and all that stuff. And I know it's no picnic.
A couple rough nights for sure.
I'm sure. So you're in the Bay Area, as is my number 5 child. I have 6 children, and number 5 moved to San Francisco, and I've been out quite a few times, and oh my gosh, what a beautiful area architecturally. Like, wow, I can't even imagine what it's like to actually get to design there, because the architecture is on fire.
It's amazing. I think the best part about it is that no 2 projects are the same. You have sprawling ranchers, you have Victorians that are straight up and down. You have every different kind of home, which is amazing. And especially in Marin, where we're in the mountains. And so all the homes are so different based on where they are in the land. If they're on a hill, it's, they're on stilts. And if they're happen to be in the flats, then, they build for that. And
I actually was in Marin, and beautiful area and intriguing. So do you do different aesthetic styles, or do you kind of focus on one?
I would say we stay true to who we are, meaning we don't like to do anything that doesn't speak to our brand and what we're about and what we love, but we definitely can span from traditional to contemporary and everything in between, depending on what the client wants and the style of the home. I will say, though, our favorite thing is to take a very traditional home. We just did one of the classic Victorians on Steiner Street in San Francisco, where Full House was filmed. The row.
Yes, I saw it actually.
The purple one we just designed. And we did a very contemporary interior, which was really, really fun to juxtapose against the classic kind of all the wood paneling. And it was just unexpected. And everybody that walks in there is surprised, and it's fun and exciting.
How cool. So how'd you make your way into the design space? Because I think you have a corporate background, right?
Yes. So I grew up actually here in the East Bay, so in the Bay Area, but just through the Caldecott Tunnel in a little town called Alamo. And my mom was a designer all growing up. So for 35 years, it's all I knew. When she started out, she did all of her own sewing, all of her own upholstery. She made every window treatment, every Roman shade out of our dining room. And I remember being in middle school or even elementary, and most kids have to take their shoes off when they go in the house. We had to leave ours on because there was always pins and needles on the floor. And so I grew up with it. And then I guess it was about junior or senior year. My mom would start, by the time I think I was in college, like I'd gotten into school. So it must've been senior year. She would pull me out of school and say, hey, let's go to the design center. You can come help me for the day. And I just thought it was magical. And getting to shop and put things together for people to make their spaces something that they loved was really just magical. So then I went to school. I went to Boulder. I graduated. I moved to Thailand for about 14 months. I taught English to high schoolers there. I just wanted to get out and experience something different and travel, which I did. I spent a month in India and really and that was after my junior year abroad in Italy. So I really tried to just see different places in the world. And then I came back and I got my real estate license, and I was selling apartments downtown South of Market in San Francisco, where it was completely undeveloped and it was like a ghost town. And now it's this sprawling, amazing, gentrified neighborhood, which is incredible. But real estate was not for me. I called one of my dear friends who worked at Williams-Sonoma Corporate, and I said, I need a job. And she said, great, come be my assistant buyer. And so I did. And I was there for 5 or 6 years, climbed up the ladder to a senior buyer, which was really, really fun and exciting. I for sure drank the Kool-Aid for the first 3 years. And then I started to become a little disillusioned, and the world was faltering as, we neared 2008. And then I was laid off. And I remember crying the night before they were going to announce layoffs, thinking, this is my chance. If I don't get laid off, I don't know if I'll be brave enough to start my design business. And so I wanted to be laid off, which was very counterintuitive because the world was ending. But I was laid off with 700 others. And that was in January. And by March, I had started our S Corp, and I had a business partner. We joined forces and said, let's do this together. We were both going to start our own businesses. And we just said, that's silly. And so I started Nest about 15 years ago, and we worked alongside each other for 12 great years. And then when COVID hit, it just kind of felt like things were changing in my life. I had been through a divorce and met a wonderful man. We joined our families and had a Brady Bunch. And I was really just cleaning house and making sure that everyone around me, and it was a positive experience every day. And I wanted to feel that in my work and create that space. And so we both went out on our own, and that's when I started HKB. And it's been about two and a half years. And I have one of my oldest employees who has been with me for 10 years. And then we have an assistant buyer who is amazing. She came from the corporate event space. And when COVID hit, she jumped ship and came to try this whole new world. And she loves it, and we love having her. So It's been really positive.
Sounds like things just kind of lined up. So, which always tells me that you're in the right space. And based on your website, you're definitely in the right space. So I got to know, is your aesthetic similar to your mother's?
No, definitely not. She was like the consummate traditionalist with the fringe and the sweet pea wallpaper and the Laura Ashley and very froofy. And so no, I actually went the opposite. And my old business partner was very traditional. And I think I ran from that
Sure.
and became very contemporary. Anything clean lined, even mid-century modern, I was more drawn to. But now I'm starting to have this appreciation. I don't know if it's getting older or just learning that having pieces that are from family from, 100 years ago is really special. So I think I'm definitely being able to merge my style. And we just built a house for the past year, my partner and I, to fit all six of us. And it's been such a labor of love, and it will be photographed hopefully in the next couple of months once we get our final furniture pieces. But it definitely has a combo of very clean lines, but also some traditional pieces thrown in.
Sure. And I think that I'm sure you're experiencing supply chain issues, as most of us are. And, my original aesthetic incorporated antiques and older pieces, really juxtaposed with modern. And it was always my favorite style. But as I got busier and busier, it was just easier to order than to go antiquing on the weekends or go antiquing and just like be looking for these pieces. And my aesthetic sort of shifted because I was doing so many installations every single week. I didn't have time or energy except to get it ordered. And I had assistants for all of that. So that's kind of my business in those middle years became all about ordering, tracking. Mm-hmm. But now with all of the supply chain, I'm back to my roots. I feel like Kunta Kinte. I am like,
yes.
Oh yeah, let's start with that antique baby. Let's get rid of some of those antiques that are left over in the warehouse. Let's repurpose, let's rethink, let's reupholster. Let's do all of these things because I don't have the patience for 28 months for upholstery to arrive. And I know my clients don't have that kind of patience either. Mm-hmm. So I think that necessity is the mother of invention. Mm-hmm. And I know that on your site, you do talk a lot about sustainability. And I think sounds like maybe a really big part of your brand. So talk to me a little bit about sustainability, why it's important to you, and how you incorporate sustainability into your designs.
Yeah, I think just living in the Bay Area, it's kind of been hammered into us for our whole lives. Like we recycled before recycling was even a thing, I think. And so it really allows you to design consciously and with thought and care. And antiques are such a beautiful part of that because there's only one and it's available. Like you said, I'm not, we just got a quote for a client and it said 36 weeks. And I was trying to even calculate that in my head. Thinking,
same. At first that doesn't sound that big, but when you start calculating 36 weeks, you're like, whoa.
Yeah. The client was like, is that a joke? Yeah.
Right. I would forget.
I could make that in 36 weeks.
Right. Right. Exactly.
And so I think really incorporating pieces that are already out there that don't take any footprint to make and to just infuse them in our designs is really special and also conscious for the environment. So I think it's important to think that way and to infuse that in your design and really be smart about it.
Yes, so agree.
Yeah.
So tell me, Heather, what inspires you?
I love being outside. It's so funny because I had a girlfriend over last night. We're newly friends. She's going through a divorce, so I'm kind of helping her through it.
Right.
And my partner and I went on a mountain bike ride yesterday for like 2 hours, just in nature, huffing and puffing. It was so beautiful. And I was telling her about it. And we had our bikes stolen a couple months ago. And so we just got our new bikes. Yesterday was our first ride. We were breaking them in. We were so excited. And she was like, you mountain bike? I did not know that about you. And I was laughing. My dad was the mountain bike coach in high school. And I think am a girly girl, but I love I love to get down and dirty. And yesterday was my favorite day. We spent 3 hours in the garden planting, and then got on our bikes and went on a ride for 2 hours. And it just felt so productive. And the vitamin D, I don't know, there's something for me about being outside. And we clearly live like in the redwoods and this beautiful space where we can do that. And I think that is the number one thing that inspires me, because travel inspires me, but we can't travel every day, but we can be outside every day in nature and take it in and just revel in the beauty of it. And that is, and then of course my family inspires me every day. And they're just, we're an evolving, very, fun family. You know, the boys are 9 and 10, the girls are 13 and 16, and just watching their personalities and the hormones I'm just always so curious. Like,
it's so true. And I've never thought about it as family being inspiring, supportive. But, you know, when I think back on things that we've been through, because we're a blended family as well. We're Brady. We are definitely the Brady bunch, 3 and 3. And so three girls, 3 boys.
Oh my
and
gosh.
2 were his, 2 we adopted, and 2 are biological. So it is like but their spaces in life have really been an inspiration that I've probably just taken for granted as my personal life that does merge with my work life.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't necessarily know that I process that on a daily basis until you just said it. But I can think of times when yes, like right now, one of my daughters is very much into boho chic. And, you know, it's just a boho chic moment.
Yeah.
And yet I have a client with 3 daughters and they're in their boho chic periods. Yeah. And I can do that very well because of the inspiration that I've garnered from my daughter, what she sees on social media, what she likes, what she follows, what she wants in her own spaces, all those things, you know, has brought about an inspiration that I probably wouldn't have been interested in that style. I just wouldn't. It's just doesn't necessarily speak to my personal aesthetic, but I champion being versed in all styles. And I usually get versed when someone asks me to do one. And then it's like, I study for days and hours. And, you know, and when you do this, I do think that you can study a particular genre for long periods of time, and you can do it. Like, it's in us. We have to be a certain amount of chameleon to be able to do what we do, unless we have a particular style that we repeat and we repeat and we repeat. That's a little bit different. But that brings me to this question. You know, my listener is she's not necessarily a DIYer, but she is someone who wants to make her home beautiful. And for whatever reason, she's probably not going to hire a designer. She's going to want to do it herself. She wants to be successful, but she wants her own stamp. And again, there's many reasons that this person ends up in this space. But I'm curious, do you think that creativity can be learned?
I definitely think, I believe in the right brain, left brain, and, you know, the very cerebral right brain and mathematical, which I know did not come easy for me. Like, even in corporate America, when I lived in spreadsheets, I just, it was heavy. I felt heavy.
Yeah, sure.
And so the left brain creative space, definitely think everybody has a left brain. And so it's in them. It's just drawing it out. So what is it? You can be creative in your cooking, in your food, and how you plate something, or how you think to make something that you're going to put in your body. You can be creative in your garden. And what my partner just made this amazing trellis for his green beans. He's so excited about his green beans and his cucumbers climb on this trellis that he sat out there for hours and made. And I watched him like That's so creative. Like how I wouldn't have thought of that. So I definitely think there are avenues of creativity that are different for everybody. You know, obviously you think of an artist and you're like, yes, you're creative. I think what we do is definitely you have to have some creative bones in your body and your left brain working. But there are so many different ways to be creative. So I think
for sure. And I do find, I think this, like sometimes when people are hiring me to do a job, they don't have confidence in their creativity or time. You know, it takes a lot of time to do what we do.
Yep.
And so, but I do think that it's in there almost with everyone, left and right brain. Like I'm definitely, my left brain is more trained than my right brain. My right brain just came out of the womb screaming, I'm here and I'm creative. And my other brain is like, all right, bring her along. You got this, but bring her along. And I exercise that muscle very often because I want the balance of the two. And as you know, running a business requires the two.
Yeah.
But I do find that a person who doesn't necessarily think they're very creative, it's also maybe they're not as passionate as you and I are about the subject.
Or like you said, they're nervous. And once you put one foot in front of the other and you just start doing,
sure,
you become more confident in your creativity.
And I think you can exercise that muscle. And I've thought a long time about this since I teach classes to people who want to aspire to have that beautiful home on their own. And I really had to sit with this. Do I think that they can do this? Because if they can't, you're just beating your head against the wall. But if they can, and there's ways that you can do it, then you probably could get somewhere. So
even if they could come away with one or two like aha moments,
sure,
it can help them transform one space and then two and then three space and do this one or two things. That's
agreed.
That's beautiful because they're making their space more their own and more.
Yes. And I encourage people at that stage, especially if they don't have the confidence yet. All right, you do you, and you go through the process, but then it's okay to hire someone to consult with you. It's okay to hire a professional to say, move this to the right 3 inches, because you will learn from that experience as well. Yep. I think sometimes people are afraid that, you know, someone like you and I are going to come in with all this vast experience and like intimidate them in some way. But it really is like, I know when I'm doing my own work, heck, I come into my office and say to the other designers here, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think?
100%.
Like, you know, because it's mine, it's personal, it's intimate, and like, oh God.
And it's hard.
It's hard. It's so hard. So I'm glad you're a kindred spirit in that way. So I'm anxious to hear your answer to this. So here's an empty space, Heather. Okay. What's your process like? What do you do?
Well, in the traditional sense, we put pen to paper and, you know, draw it in CAD and lay it out. But throw that away because so often we check our measurements from our CAD drawing in the space and we're like, that doesn't feel right. And so then we get out our old-fashioned tape measure, which I literally have one every spot I am in every
drawer attached to my fingers.
Yeah. And we measure it out and we think through like, how does this person live? How do they entertain? Do they have a family? We go through all the process and we know whether it's for our client or I'm just thinking of my home that I just did. And, you know, okay, this is our living room, but it is not a formal living room. It has a TV and we want it to be comfy and cozy. And it was like, okay, yes, a sofa, but how about a day bed where you can literally just lounge with a couple of the kids? So really thinking through who's going to use the space, how the space is going to be used. and then laying it out with your trusty tape measure, and just knowing, okay, we're going to do a sofa, a day bed, and a pair of chairs. And then maybe we'll throw in a bench or two little benches at the, by the fireplace, just to pull up for extra seating, because we need that, because there are so many of us. There are not 8 of us, but there are 6 of us.
And then there were.
And so yeah, that's, I think, but then if I back up and think through, like, the very first thing we do is we create a vibe board. And this is the most important step, because it dictates the design for every room in the house. And that offers consistency in our designs. And so we start with our vibe board, we send it to the client, we have a meeting, and we go through every image. And it's not like you're going to have this in your home. It's more like, how does this vibe board feel? It evokes a mood. And what is that? And do you love it? And if you don't, we're back to the drawing board. So that is how we start. And then obviously, our handy tape measure comes into play, and we really.
Well, I tell people, like, they'll bring me plans. I do a lot of design builds where I'm making all the selections, and it's a year and a half of building. And I love that kind of work. But when it comes to, like, I'll get, into the project, and I inevitably have clients say, well, okay, let's order furniture. Let's order our furniture right now. And we're still 12 months out. And, like, I understand the backlog more than most. Mm-hmm. However, I start saying it's different on paper than it is in person. It just is. And I want to feel the space before I commit. And yes, this sofa fits. Yes, this is probably where we're going with this. Mm-hmm. However, I want this feeling, this vibe, to feel like you, client. And I also want it to be respectful of the architecture and the home itself. And sometimes you can't get that from a blueprint. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what you're saying. This vibe board does have this significant role, because this is whether every little piece in that vibe board is going in this house, probably not, but it does speak volumes to how this space is going to feel, right?
100%. When we did my home, and I say we because my senior designer, Reed, was such a big part of it. It's so hard to design for yourself. I don't know why. Maybe it's just me, but I've learned that from many other designers. They've heard them say the same thing. But we found this image from this amazing artist, and it's this woman with a blank face, with being hugged by this big, fat, wonderful, what looks like cashmere blanket. Mm. And I was like, that is my home. That is what I want. I want you to walk in and feel like you are being hugged by a cashmere blanket, and just settle into the comfort of it and the coziness.
I love this.
And so I can show you if you can see, mm-hmm. There she is. And so this was the start of our vibe. And it all came to be from that one image. So oftentimes, we find one image and it's amazing, and it just drives the whole thing.
I like to say to people, when you're scrolling on Pinterest or whatever, you're not just looking for rooms. Like, rooms are important. Like, I get a lot from people out of the rooms that they select, but I say, don't just look at rooms, look at images that speak to you, because mm-hmm. what you just showed me was more of a piece of art, but this woman in this cashmere blanket, this big, thick, fluffy, that sparks, how do I want to feel in my home?
Yes.
And that's the thing that I sometimes think people miss. They'll bring me a picture of something on Pinterest, and I'm like, so you sort of want me to copy this room? Because I'm the wrong girl for that. Like, I don't know how to do that very well. Mm-hmm. I can look at something, I can get a vibe, and I certainly can give you a different version of that, mm-hmm. that feels that way, but it won't be that. Like, that's just not in me. It's just not. But But I think it's more if people can settle into what that space needs to feel like to them as the people who live there, then I think you tap into something that resonates with a person. And in the end, I say this, I'm not going to live here. I'm probably going to come visit you because we will become friends over this, but you're going to live here. This has to feel like you, not me. And get comfortable with that, because if you don't know who that is, we're going to find out.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you have a similar process, and which I love that process. I'm not the girl who does this look, and I don't have a look. I have your look.
Yeah.
And that's the best I can say about that. So I want to segue in a minute into materials. And this is really how we were introduced. Is you're kind of known for your use of materials, and I know that you deal a lot in stone. So first, define for people what a natural stone is versus a synthetic stone, because I think there's a lot of product in the market and people get confused with materials.
Yeah. There's so many options out there, and which is amazing and been really wonderful to design with all of these options. But yes, natural stone is cut from the quarry, whether it's from Italy, Portugal, South America. It is a block of magnificent stone cut from a quarry and then sliced up into pieces. And what you see is what you get. No two are alike. They're like snowflakes. Synthetic stone is conglomerates. So they grind it up and glue it together, and it's very hardy. It can also be porcelain. I do think synthetic materials, synthetic slabs have come a long way. You would see like Corian or quartz. Everybody's heard of quartz. A lot of people call it Caesar stone. It's like Kleenex versus tissue. Kleenex is the brand. Tissue is the thing. The Caesar stone is the brand, is one brand out of millions, it seems like these days. And quartz is the synthetic material. And there is a time and a place for it. And we have to love all materials because we're blessed to get to do many different spaces and many different places. But if you think about it, a man-made material can't live outside. So like if we're doing a built-in kitchen outside, we would never put a quartz outside because the heat can do things to it. Whereas a natural stone has already lived outside and it's totally fine outside. So, and there is something about natural stone that we love that none are the same. And so every project with natural stone is unique. So we love marble, quartzite, not to be confused with quartz, limestone, soapstone, slate. We love these natural materials, but some of them are more porous than others. And that's where the proper sealant comes in and treating them so that they last a lifetime.
So before we get into this sealant, I think that this is appropriate to say, because a lot of people get really, really nervous about using natural stone as countertops.
Yep.
And I understand it. And most vendors that I work with will, they'll terrify my client, even though I say, do not open your mouth and terrify the client. But let's just say I want to use marble on my kitchen countertops. And they're like, oh, no. And we won't stand and all that stuff. So first question is, do you ever use natural stone as countertops?
Every day. All the time.
Hey girl, that's what I wanted to hear.
I had marble in my last kitchen. I have quartzite in this kitchen. I have a soapstone vanity in my powder room. I have a Calcutta vanity in my master bathroom. And yes, it's all porous, but it's beautiful. And there are two ways to think about it. One is this is a natural stone. It can last a 1,000 years as your countertop, and you can let it patina as it will. meaning you will see rings from water, wine, you will see spots from lemon or lime acid etching it. Think about the oldest bar you've been to in Italy, and that counter is marble and it has been there for 100 years. And that is the patina you will get. The other side of it is you can seal it and it will look as beautiful as it did on install day as it does 4 years later. So do not be afraid of using that.
What is this sealant? This is so exciting.
It's called More Anti-Etch. It's a gentleman named Steve Wolf used to work for DuPont, and he had a lot of experience in mixing these compounds, and he left and said, I'm going to make this sealant that you roll on to natural stone that is impenetrable. And you will only have to seal it like once every 10 to 20 years versus every year. And it works. It's a matte finish. So it looks, if you have honed stone, it looks just like the stone. I mean, you can't tell that there's any sealant on it. And it truly helps stop the effects of citrus and etching and staining, and you can leave coffee and red wine rings on your counter overnight and then wipe them up the next day and it's fine.
And this is MOOR?
MOOR. Mm-hmm. More anti-edge.
Anti-edge.
No, MORE. More anti-edge.
More anti-edge. Because I'm going to link it, of course. It'll be in the show notes, everyone.
Yeah.
But I have marble countertops in my kitchen, and I'm very particular about them. I don't like the patina for that particular area. And someone recently said to me, there's a product now that you can use to seal. And I thought, I'm going to wait till I hear a little more about this because I have a lot of countertop in my kitchen. But I bet you it's the same product. And I would be a fan. When you say matte, how does it work on a glossier finish, or does it matte it down?
They have two. They have a polished option and a honed option.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, moresurfacecare.com, MORE. And they have different sealants for the different stones. So I have a different sealant on my quartzite than I did on my marble. So they really honed in on what the product is and created something spectacular. I don't understand what the compound is, but that I don't need to. I just know that it works.
Which is so amazing. And when we started this conversation, you've had this product in your homes for now a couple of years. So you know it's tried and true because you tried it and it's true.
Yep.
And which is so exciting because people will say to me, oh my God, I love that marble, but I'm not doing that. I'm too scared. My husband is sloppy. I spill red wine, all those things that, and then I, as a designer, don't want to live with, oh my gosh, like I'm going to get a phone call in 3 years and you're going to be upset.
Right.
So this is a way to offset that. And I'm thrilled to know about it. And I'm going to be talking about it a lot too on my show because, I love a product that will solve. Design is a lot about finding the best solutions to problems in your home. And this solves a problem. And not spending hours on it. I do have a couple of questions though about stone, because I think there's also unusual ways to use stone, not just on a countertop. And I noticed on your site, you do some things. Tell me some things, other things you've done with stone that are beautiful that, someone could incorporate into their homes.
Yeah, I think our favorite thing right now is doing integrated sinks. So for a powder room, just taking a slab and cutting it up to make a sink look like just it was carved out of a block of soapstone or marble or quartzite, where the sink is fully integrated, I think is so beautiful because it's seamless and it looks like it was just carved out of a chunk of stone. And I love that heft and that feel. We also use slab for fireplace surrounds all the time. Not only are they so functional because of their heat resistant qualities, but they're beautiful. And there's so many designs you can do with different mantles and really you can do anything with stone. It's amazing. Of course, outdoor spaces, even just with a remnant we have left over, we'll, cut a round top and put it on a iron base for outside. And clients are like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Yes. I love our table. And then nobody has it. And it's beautiful. Yes. So yeah, that is, we use stone in every room. It's wonderful.
It is wonderful. And I do the same with remnants. I'm doing a top for a coffee table right now. Yeah. And it was just a little leftover piece. And, it's so pretty and it's so important. Yeah. And it can elevate something to an entirely different level. Yeah. And it can make it unique to you. So, which are all the things that to me scream good design. So in your portfolio, you tend to have more neutral palettes, but so tell me, how do you insert color, or do you?
I will say we used to use color a lot more than we did. And something shifted. And I think it was a combination of things. For me, my old business was being dissolved and I was transitioning to this new business where it was solely mine. And then, we were all stuck at home and I was looking around and I don't want to say getting sick of, but I was finding myself like with really bold colors and patterns. It was jarring to me. And I felt like I just wanted to take it down 10 notches and just breathe in more neutral tones, but lots of texture. And that's where our shift happened. And I don't know, I don't know if it was gradual or if it was one day, but we just started doing these vibe boards that evoked this very calm, soothing feeling and nothing like too bright or jarring. And so that's kind of the direction where we've gone. Like I'm looking at this as like a rug that's going in my bedroom. It's this like soft blue gray. And then this is the headboard fabric. And the texture is what made us swoon for it. And that is,
well, I say, especially when someone comes to me for a neutral palette, because I'm known for color, but can I do a neutral palette? Have done bazillions. Right. But if you're going to do a neutral palette, then texture becomes your color.
100%. I actually think it's harder sometimes than designing with color, because that is like play on play on play, and you layer. With textures, it's like, okay, this is velvet. We don't want another velvet. So we need to really think through the next, okay, what is it? Oh, it's a chunky linen. And so really thinking through that is, it's almost harder, but in the end, it feels so natural and so warm and comfy and cozy. And so we love that.
So do you have certain things that you do in homes that is unique to you, your aesthetic, something more like signature?
I would say right now, the past couple of years, we have moved away from white kitchens, white, and we are going warm. And so we are doing rift white oak cabinets or custom walnut cabinets, or a color like this deep, rich, almost hunter green that brings in nature. And so I think right now our signature is not a white kitchen. And
Agreed.
have seen white kitchens on our website because that's all we do.
And it's white kitchen to death. It's white everything to death.
And client will come and say, I want a white kitchen. I'm coming to you. And we're like, oh no. Right. And then we're like, well, what if we do a soft gray and they're like, oh,
Right.
that, can I see what that would look like? And then they're like, oh, that feels nice. And so just warming it up, I think has been, and also everything has been so stark white for so long that white, gray, that we're really, warming it up. So like more of like a warm white or an ivory. It feels, and I'm saying this as my office is white, but this canvas, this natural colored canvas is where we are right now. We're warming it up and just creating
and probably using warmer whites when you're using white.
100%. So instead of super white,
yes,
or white dove,
we're going warmer whites.
Yeah, Swiss coffee to
yes. And then that plays well with other warm colors that are branching off into other rooms and spaces. And I think it's kind of important because subliminally, we're all overexposed to whatever is trending, even us. I mean, we start seeing so much of something, and the next thing you know, we're doing it.
Right.
And I think the average person is as well. And before you know it, and really by the time not us necessarily, but by the time the person who doesn't do this professionally is incorporating into their homes, this subliminal image, it's already trending out. And, I mean, think of the gray in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Think of the white. Think of the white with millennial pink. I mean, it's everywhere.
Right.
And then I'm so sick of it. Like, I don't really want to do it. I want to give you something special, even though your heart is set on that white with millennial pink pop. It's the pop that's doing it for you. Probably. And it's not that I don't like either color, or it's not that I don't like those looks. It's just been in my face.
Yes.
And an overexposure. So it does make me, though, want to ask this, because I think about this from the perspective of someone listening to this show and gaining and garnering, like, what are things we can leave them with? So what are tips that people can incorporate that they can elevate their home to more of a designer level? Like, what kinds of things can somebody really pull off?
Yeah. I think there are a few just like tricks that aren't even tricks. They're just inherent in what we know. But to explain it to someone, and someone would say, oh yeah, I never knew that. Like an area rug. If you have a sprawling living room, family room, whatever it is, and you put a 5x8 postage stamp rug in there, your room is going to come crashing in and feel this big. But if you do a 10x14 rug or a custom size to fit the space, your room will feel the size that it is. And so I think that is something that we see all the time, that we walk in and we're like, oh yeah, it feels small because you have the wrong size rug. And that helps define your space so easily. It's like dummy proof, like once you learn, like, oh, this is the right size rug for this room. And that's why there are those standard rug sizes, 8x10, 9x12, 10x14, because those are some standard room sizes.
And so, your point, nothing kills a space worse than that 5x7 rug in this huge room. And yes, it does support the furniture perhaps, but I've never really thought about it. I've never put it into those words. You did it so eloquently, but all of a sudden your room just shrinks and you've got this pretty massive space. I mean, people get afraid to go big, don't you think?
Yeah. 100%.
Big in anything. Like they'll get these little bitty accessories, or they'll buy this little bitty lamp. And I'm like, oh, love, like we cannot have that lamp by this 7-inch high headboard.
Yeah. And you just said I think the biggest thing you said, clients get afraid. So this, I think, is the biggest thing you can do in design. If you really want to elevate your space, be afraid, have a touch of fear that it's too bold or too much and go for it.
Yes.
Do a tile that scares you. My boys' bathroom, there's no window. We put a skylight in, but there's no window. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to enhance the darkness and do black tile, black floors, black everywhere with an oak vanity and a big mirror to reflect as much light as I can get in this space. And it is by far our favorite bathroom because
wow, it sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's so fun.
So bold.
And even as a designer, and I know everything that's out there, and even the stuff I don't know, I'll learn about and, be like, oh, that's so much cooler than what I did.
Yes. Yes.
But even I have to tell myself to be brave sometimes and like, yes, do that. And don't play it safe.
But you know what? I think it's why you're successful. I know that it has a lot to do with my success because, we can all pick some things that play nicely together. We can break some rules and, get the scale off a little bit, get this off a little bit. But I think that the reason people use me as their designer, and I have a feeling it's you too, is because we will take that risk. And we'll believe in it so hard that our clients know that if we believe in it that much, that it's worth risk and that we'll fix it if it goes wrong.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I've taken risks that haven't worked, but I'd rather take that risk than cheat my client out of what it could have been if I had stayed in the box. And, I think like I can't wait to get out of the box when I'm working on a job. Like I cannot, but I also have a lot of years of experience. So I'm not afraid to get out of the box. But when I don't get out of the box and I play it safe, the room is flat to me or the project is flat. And sometimes people just won't let you. And you finally just give up in like frustration. And you're like, okay, if you won't do it, then I'm not going to lose any more sleep about this. I'm telling you, it would be 1,000 times better if you let me do it this way, but you're not doing it. So here we go. And eventually you can get to that. But when you get out, and I can tell what the girl that puts black tile all over a dark bathroom, I know you can take a risk and I love it, love it, love it. I can't wait to see the photographs of this bathroom. I think it sounds spectacular. So
breaking the rules, break the rules. It's so fun.
Yes.
Like I get to work
and allow yourself. Yes. Allow yourself to do it. Yeah. So obviously beauty's important to you. So, but why? Why should people care? Why is beauty important?
My partner and I have this conversation quite a bit because he's like, function is better. And I'm like, no, beauty is better. Women wear high heels. You think they wear them because they're comfortable? No, they wear them because they're beautiful.
Great.
And they elongate our calf and our leg. And there are reasons for why we do things. And I think I have learned through this project over the past year, my own project, that beauty, the most beautiful is where it functions and is beautiful, because that appeals to everyone. Yes, you can just have beauty, but if it also can be functional, it's like a 10 out of 10. And so I've really tried to instill in my gals, like, okay, but how are they going to use that? And will it work for them? Because just pulling something that's beautiful is easy, but making sure that it works for the people, the place, the space is the ultimate beauty. And so I've really, just in doing my own project, I've really put a focus on that. And it's been really helpful.
Well,
for us and for our clients.
Well said. Well said, Heather. So it's time for my signature question, which goes a little like this.
Okay.
If you had a hashtag that really spoke to your legacy of design, what would it be?
So funny. I am looking in my notes because I used to have, when I started this company 2 years ago, I had this saying, this is it. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I should have it memorized. The courage to grow requires the ability to let go. So it is that, let's be brave and mighty and go for it.
Yes.
And then you will grow.
Yes. Oh, Heather, I cannot believe this time has flown. Like you and I could just do this.
I know.
I could tell.
I'm coming
I
to the
can't wait.
South.
Maybe when I come to the Bay Area, I'm going to look
roots.
back.
It's my roots. My grandmother was from Georgia.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So there we are.
Yeah.
So how can people find you?
HKB Interior Design.com. And I would love to, we travel. We have a project in Denver right now. So yeah, reach out.
Great. So great. Well, Heather, I thoroughly have enjoyed getting to know you. It's so funny because our introduction was over the sealant, but gosh, there's many more layers to you, girl.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
So wonderful talking with
you. Thank you. I appreciate this so much. And you guys got to go take a look at this girl's work. She's spectacular. And I can't wait to get to know you more. And so I'm going to say to our listeners, bye for now, and I will see you next time. And thanks for listening. And of course, be sure to go rate, review, and subscribe to our show. Thanks for listening to Decorate Like a Design Boss. If you want more info on how to decorate your space like a pro, visit KimberlyGriggDesigns.com. See you next week.